I was looking through my back catalogue a few days ago and I came across my Day Old Hate video, my simple version of Day Old Hate, and realised that I had made a commitment to do another video where I was going to show you the introduction and a few of the chord variations that are played on the record. So this is that video. So if you haven't watched it already, can I recommend that you watch the first video on Day Old Hate, because that shows you the basic chord shapes, and I'll leave a link in the description, and then come back to this one and we can have a look at it. So we've got the cap on the 4th fret, just like in the previous video. But one thing I'm pretty sure is the case is that this song is recorded in drop D tuning, which means that note, your bottom E string, is now tuned to a D. Now obviously that's not a D because you've got your cap on there. So that's knocked it apart. So drop D tuning. So when you're tuning your guitar, if you've got your D there, tuning this string down to be an octave lower, so you have to tune it down a tone from the normal position, which is E. Cap on the 4th fret, as I said. Now I often find when I'm doing drop D tuning or using dadgad as a tuning, having a less tension on this string means it tends to go out of tune when you put the cap on. Just muck around with the tuning until you're happy with it. So that means one of the chords in the song is E minor, normally played with that shape. In order to play an E minor in drop D, you need three notes, because you have to play the 2nd fret of the bottom string as well. Now you can do it like an A chord. So that, the red chord on my guitar here, 3 fingers, string down on the same fret. About the tuning, or you can be lazy and play it with 1 finger. But if you're going to play it with 1 finger, make sure your finger's like down and then lift it up. You know what I mean? Flatten out this part of your finger, but lift the other bit, because you want these strings to ring on. Now I probably play it like that because I'm lazy, but if you want to be accurate, you could play it like that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the introduction. Now the introduction is picked, and the advice I always give my students is learn it slowly and then build up the speed. So play it at a tempo you're comfortable playing it at, and then once you're comfortable playing it, speed up, because it's your hand that you're teaching to play rather than your head. You know what I mean? It's like you can think about what you're doing, but it's your hand getting used to what has to be done. So that process, I think, is easiest achieved if you do it. Just slow the tempo down a little bit, work on it slowly. You can always slow down videos on YouTube using the playback speed to make it a bit easier to play along to if you find that difficult. But I would say, do it at a tempo you're comfortable with, and then speed up. So the introduction has 2 hammer-ons at the beginning. So you're hammering on to the 2nd fret above the capo of the D string. I just think play the G string there, the E string, with 1 finger, which I'm going to use my 1st finger for. But I've seen a video suggesting you do it with those 2 fingers, but I'm quite happy just using my 1st finger. So hammer on like that. So a hammer on is just you play the note and then you hit it with your finger, basically, so it rings out. So open D string to 2nd fret, and then the same on the high E string. So that's going up to an E, and that's going up to F sharp. And you do them one after the other. Now remember that the song is in swing rhythm, which means you've got that kind of that horsey kind of feel. Now the way swing rhythm works is that basically you're dividing every beat into 3 divisions, triplets, rather than doing quavers, which you would normally do when you divide every beat into 2. So instead of going, so if you're counting it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, that's quavers. But for triplets, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you're playing swing rhythm, if you see it written as quavers, what it means is that the first note is going to be 2 of those triplets, and the last note is 1 of those triplets. So the first note is longer. So it would go. So if you're counting it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's what gives the first note the longer bit and the 2nd bit the shorter. So that's how you're doing the swing rhythm. So in these ones you're going like that. Actually, I'm not going to use my plectrum, I'm going to pick it. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, I think the first one is longer, and then the second one you're hammering on for that last part of the triplet. So So that's the two hammer-ons. D string, 2nd fret, high E string, 2nd fret, and then you play the open B string and the D string on the 2nd fret, so it goes. And those are whole notes, I think. So that's the first part of the introduction, and then you're doing another little hammer on here. So it's on and off. So you're playing the 2nd fret of the E string, hammering on the 3rd fret, and then pulling it back off again. Now you shouldn't have to pluck that. So when you do the hammer on, obviously you bring your finger down with a reasonable amount of force, more force than you would normally do if you were just fretting the note. And then for a pull off, you literally bring your finger down and off the fretboard to get that. So you're effectively plucking it with that finger. So you get the. So it's diddle there, 1, 2, 3. And then you play the open G string, and then followed by the open B string, and then you play the 2nd fret of the D string, followed by the open B string. So the whole thing slowed down goes. The whole introduction like that. So as you can see, I still haven't entirely got my head around the introduction. If I was playing this in front of an audience, I'd be rather nervous at this point. So once more with feeling. And at this point, you're then going to slide your 1st finger up to the 4th fret of the D string, put your 2nd finger on the 5th fret of the A string. For that chord, I'll use my plectrum at this point. And then the variation here is that you then put your 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the high E string to make that chord, to get that note. So after you've done your introduction and whilst you're playing the actual. So you go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then put your finger on the 5th fret. You slide that down, these two fingers, down to the 3rd fret to make a C. Then you're going to put your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string to give you a C9 chord. So you start off with a C major 7th, which is basically these two notes and nothing else on. So that includes a B, which makes it a C, because that's an ordinary C chord. So that's a C major 7 with a B. And then put your 3rd finger on after, I think it's 1 bar, so it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's string on for 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the next thing you put on is your pinky on the 4th fret of the D string for that note. So those are the chord variations. So your basic chord is a D shape like that on the 5th fret, down to a C shape like that on the 3rd fret. The D variation is your 5th fret of the high E string. And your C2 variations, first one is putting your finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then you then put your pinky on the 4th fret of the D string. So the whole thing played like that goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Chord with no variation. Finger on the 5th fret. 1, 2, 3. 3rd fret of the B string. 4th fret of the D string for 2. Now I think in the course of that you can just basically vary them. So you don't have to have that note on when you play this note. That chord sounds fine as well. And I don't know if it uses that chord in the chorus or not, and quite frankly, I don't think it really matters. So that's the verse variations. And again, when you come to the chorus, you're playing that version of the D chord, which is just the D sus2. So you're playing a D chord and you're taking your 2nd finger off, so your E string's open. And for that chorus C, I think you're playing the C9, which is the 2 on here and your 3rd fret of the B string. I don't hear this note coming in with your pinky. Now, one of the problems of having a drop D tuning is obviously that this D is out of tune for every chord apart from the D chord. So you're going to do that or that for your E chord. Strum away for your D chord. But when you come to your C chord, make sure you're just resting your thumb over that string and killing it. The other strings ringing out, because that still has that kind of ethereal open string feel to it when you strum that chord. But just make sure you're not hammering that note, because that sounds not very good at all, frankly. So just rest your thumb across the top there. And that's pretty much it in terms of the variations on the chords. I'll have a little look at the solo next, but I'm again not going to try and replicate it exactly. I'm just going to give you an idea of what I think is happening. So the third video in this series will just be a short video about the solo. So that is the kind of chord variations and introduction to Day Old Hate.